You know that feeling when you hear something from a source you know is totally unreliable, so you dismiss it, but then, weeks later, you find yourself thinking, maybe there was something to that. Well, it's not just you. It's a really strange quirk of the human mind. And today, we are going to break down exactly how it works. It's called the sleeper effect.
All right, let's just dive right in with the counterintuitive puzzle that's at the heart of all this.
So you hear some rumor or a claim from a source you just know is untrustworthy, right? So you brush it off. But then time passes, and somehow the idea itself starts to stick around, and that initial healthy disbelief, well, it just starts to fade. What on earth is going on there?
Yeah, this is such a classic example. You see an attack ad, and your brain immediately goes, well, of course the opposition paid for that, and you completely discount it. But then, weeks later, that negative feeling about the candidate's still kind of lingering, even though you can't quite remember where you heard it. So, what is happening here?
Well, this strange little mental glitch actually has a name. It's called the sleeper effect.
So here's the wild part. Instead of a message's influence fading away like you'd expect, it can actually get stronger over time. It's like this delayed action persuasion. That initial red flag you had, knowing the source is biased, it wears off. But the message itself, it gets left behind to do its work.
And check this out, because this visualizes just how bizarre this is. Graph A shows what we'd call normal decay. You hear something, and its impact just fizzles out over time. Makes total sense. But now look at Graph B. That's the sleeper effect. The initial impact is super low, but then persuasion actually increases. It's like persuasion is working in reverse. So weird.
And the craziest thing is, this whole thing was discovered completely by accident. During World War II, researchers were showing U.S. soldiers propaganda films hoping to boost their morale. When they tested the soldiers 5 days later, not much had changed. But when they came back 9 weeks later, they were absolutely floored to find that the film's messages had become way more effective. The propaganda, it turned out, had just been sleeping.
But here's the twist in the story. Just because it was discovered, that didn't mean everyone actually believed it was real.
I mean, for decades, you had scientists trying to recreate this effect in their labs, and they just couldn't do it reliably. It was so hard to reproduce that a lot of them started thinking that original WWI finding was just a fluke, a ghost in the machine of psychology.
The skepticism got so bad that by the mid-70s, you had prominent researchers publishing papers basically asking, hey, is it time to just lay the sleeper effect to rest? It looked like the phenomenon itself was about to get put to sleep for good. But then, researchers finally cracked the code. It turns out the sleeper effect wasn't a myth. It was just incredibly specific, almost fragile. It only shows up when this very strict set of conditions are met, like a perfect line of dominoes. If even one of these 4 conditions isn't met, poof, the effect just doesn't happen.
Okay, so we know it's real, just rare. But that leaves the next big question. How does it actually work inside our brains? Let's take a look at the 3 leading theories.
Psychologists have pretty much narrowed it down to 3 prime suspects. You can think of these as different models for what's happening in our heads over time: forgetting, dissociation, and differential decay.
So the first idea was pretty simple. You just plain forget the bad source. That's the forgetting hypothesis. But studies show that wasn't quite right, because when researchers prompted people, they could often still remember the source. This led to the dissociation hypothesis, which is a bit more subtle. It says that the memory of the source and the memory of the message become unlinked in your brain. The connection just fades, even if both pieces of info are still floating around in there.
Now, the most accepted theory today is called differential decay. It's basically a race between 2 fading memories. The negative memory of that unreliable source, it decays faster than the memory of the compelling message. And eventually, the source's negative power just vanishes, leaving the persuasive message to stand all on its own. And critically, this is way more likely to happen if you process the message first, before you find out you shouldn't trust the source.
So, a weird psychological quirk from a World War II study. Who cares, right? Well, we all should. Because in our current chaotic information landscape, this effect might be more powerful and, frankly, more dangerous than ever before.
Just think about our world for a second. Disinformation, fake news, anonymous social media posts, those political attack ads. We are constantly being bombarded with messages attached to sources that have very low credibility. And sure, we might dismiss them in the moment, but the sleeper effect suggests those messages can just burrow into our minds, quietly gaining influence as the days and weeks go by.
And that really leaves us with a pretty powerful final thought.
The sleeper effect is a huge reminder that our beliefs are maybe not as stable as we like to think. The ideas we reject today could become the truths we accept tomorrow, all because we've forgotten who told them to us in the first place. So, what ideas are sleeping in your mind?